Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are starting a brand new book of the Bible today. We are starting the book of 2 Samuel. This continues the story of David. In the conclusion of 1 Samuel, we had the passing of Saul and his 3 sons, so ending the dynasty. David hears of Saul's death, which means David is no longer in jeopardy for his life. But remember, he didn't have a problem with Saul. Saul was the one trying to kill him, and David didn't get bitter about that, which is like, wow, what a bunch of patience that guy has, because I personally can tell you I would not react that way. I can guarantee you. I've never had somebody trying to do that to me before, thankfully, but I can tell just from how I react to much more petty things than murder or attempted murder that I would not react to that with the same level of patience that David certainly did. And, you know, Jonathan was his, best friend. Now Jonathan is dead. So, you know, relief, right? It would be what you would think for the rest of us. But after the death of Saul, David returned from defeating the Amalekites and stayed in Ziklag 2 days. On the 3rd day, a man arrived from Saul's camp with his clothes torn and with dust on his head. When he came to David, he fell to the ground to pay him honor. "Where have you come from?" David asked him. He answered, "I have escaped from the Israelite camp." "What happened?" David asked. "Tell me." He said, "The men fled from the battle. Many of them fell and died, and Saul and his sons and his son Jonathan are dead." Then David said to the young man who brought him the report, "How do you know that Saul and his son Jonathan are dead?" "I happened to be on Mount Gilboa," the young man said, "and there was Saul leaning on a spear with the chariots and riders almost upon him. When he turned around and saw me, he called out to me and said, 'What can I do?' He asked me, 'Who are you?' 'An Amalekite,' I answered. Then he said to me, 'Stand over me and kill me. I am in the throes of death, but I am still alive.' So I stood over him and killed him, because I knew that after he had fallen, he could not survive. And I took the crown that was on his head and the band on his arm, and I have brought them here to my Lord. So I bring the proof of Saul's jewelry." That's pretty convincing proof, especially for that time frame, because it's not like they could, just go run over there real quick and check. Then David and all the men with him took hold of their clothes and tore them. They mourned and wept and fasted till evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. David said to the young man who brought him the report, "Where are you from?" "I am the son of an alien, an Amalekite," he answered. David asked, "Why were you not afraid to lift your hand to destroy the Lord's anointed?" Then David called on one of his men and said, "Go strike him down." So he struck him down, and he died. So this man brought him Saul's jewelry and all that, but because he struck down King Saul at Saul's request, he was then killed. For David had said to him, "Your blood be on your own head. Your own mouth testifies against you when you said, 'I killed the Lord's anointed.'" David's lament for Saul and Jonathan. David took up his lament concerning Saul and his son Jonathan and ordered that the men of Judah be taught this lament of the bow it is written in the book of Jashar. So remember that David was quite an experienced musician and could play the lyre, I do believe it was. Your glory, O Israel, lies slain on your heights. How the mighty have fallen. Tell it not in Gath. Proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines be glad, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised rejoice. O mountains of Gilboa, may you have neither dew nor rain, nor fields that yield offering of grain. For there the shield of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul, no longer rubbed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the flesh of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back. The sword of Saul did not return unsatisfied. Saul and Jonathan, in life they were loved and gracious, and in death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles, and they were stronger than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep for Saul, who clothed you in scarlet and finery, who adorned your garments with ornaments of gold. How the mighty have fallen in battle. Jonathan lies slain on your heights. I grieve for you. Jonathan, my brother, you were very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women. How the mighty have fallen. The weapons of war have perished. Oh, so it seems like, he's really, really feeling some kind of way about the passing of these people. Until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are in the book of 2 Samuel, and we are in chapter 2. Continuing the story of King David. David anointed king over Judah, not Israel. Judah. And the one nation becomes two. In the course of time, David inquired of the Lord, "Shall I go up to one of the towns of Judah?" He asked him. The Lord said, "Go up." David asked, "Where shall I go?" "To Hebron," the Lord answered. So David went up there with his 2 wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David also took the men who were with him, each with his family, and they settled in Hebron and its towns. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. When David was told that it was the men of Jabesh Gilead who buried Saul, he sent messengers to the men of Jabesh Gilead to say to them, "The Lord bless you for showing this kindness to Saul your master by burying him. May the Lord now show you kindness and faithfulness, and I will show you some favor because you have done this. Now then, be strong and brave, for Saul your master is dead, and the house of Judah has anointed me king over them." War between the houses of David and Saul. But he doesn't have any sons left. Meanwhile, Abner, son of Ner, the commander of Saul's army, had taken Ishbosheth, Ishbosheth, son of Saul, so there's another one, and brought him over to Mahanaim, Mahanaim, I'm not saying I'm pronouncing that right, but that's just how I pronounce it. He made him king over Gilead, Ashura, or Asher, and Jezreel, and also over Ephraim, Benjamin, and all Israel. So Abner had this kid, crowned king. Ishboish, son of Saul, was 40 years old when he became king over Israel and reigned 2 years. The house of Judah, however, followed David. The length of the time David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. Abner, son of Ner, together with the men of Ishbosheth, Ishbosheth, son of Saul, left Mahanaim and went to Gibeon. Joab, son of Zeruiah, Zeruiah, and David's men went out and met them at the pool of Gibeon. One group sat down on one side of the pool and one group on the other. Then Abner said to Joab, "Let's have some young men get up and fight hand to hand in front of us." "All right, let's do them. Let them do it," Joab said. So they stood up and were counted off, 12 men for Benjamin and Ishbosheth, son of Saul, and 12 for David. Then each man grabbed his opponent by the head and thrust his dagger into his opponent's side, and they fell face down. So that place in Gibeon was called Helkath Hazarim, Helkath, and Hazarim, Hazzurim, field of daggers, or field of hostilities. The battle that day was very fierce, and Abner and the men of Israel were defeated by David's men. The 3 sons of Zeruiah, Zeruiah, were there: Joab, Abishai, and Ashiel. Now Ashiel was as fleet-footed as a wild gazelle. He chased Abner, turning neither right nor left as he pursued them. Abner looked behind him and asked, "Is that you, Ashiel?" "It is," he answered. Then Abner said to him, "Turn aside to the right or to the left. Take one of the young men and strip him of his weapons." But Ashiel would not stop chasing him. Again, Abner warned Ashiel, "Stop chasing me. Why should I strike you down? How could I look your brother Joab in the face?" But Ashiel refused to give up pursuit, so Abner thrust the butt of his spear into Ashiel's stomach, and the spear came out through the back. So he jabbed him so hard with the butt of his spear, not the pointy end, that it went all the way through the guy's body to the other side, like as if it was the pointy side. Wow. That's kind of crazy. He fell there and died on the spot, of course. And every man stopped when he came to the place where Ashiel had fallen and died. But Joab and Abishai pursued Abner, and as the sun was setting, they came to the hill of Ammah, Ammah, near Giah, Giah, on the way to the wastelands of Gibeon. Then the men of Benjamin rallied behind Abner. They formed themselves into a group and took their stand at the top of the hill. Abner called out to Joab, "Must the sword devour forever? Don't you realize this will end in bitterness? How long before you order your men to stop pursuing their brothers?" Joab answered them, "Surely as God lives, if you had not spoken, The men would have continued the pursuit of their brothers until morning. Or spoken this morning, the men would not have been taken up pursuit of their brothers. I see. Or spoken, the men would have given up the pursuit of their brothers. Would not have taken up. Yeah, so if you had been willing to communicate, nobody would be chasing you. So Joab blew the trumpet, and all the men came to a halt. They no longer pursued Israel, nor did they fight anymore. All that night, Abner and his men marched through the Arabah. They crossed the Jordan and continued through the whole of Bithron, Bithron, which has got a footnote on there, or morning or ravine. Okay. So they marched. It's Bithron is a ravine. And came into Manheim. Then Joab returned from pursuing Abner and assembled all his men. Besides Ashiel, 19 of David's men were found missing. But David's men had killed 360 Benjaminites who were with Abner. They took Ashiel and buried him in his father's tomb in Bethlehem. Then Joab and his men marched all night and arrived at Hebron by daybreak. So, the two nations, it was one nation and it has now become two because Abner has anointed his own king. Meanwhile, Judah has decided to follow David because Saul actually anointed David and they knew that Saul anointed David. And it was only because David didn't want to be king while Saul was still king, because he was like, no, Saul is the God's anointed one. And now we are into a place of two nations. And you will get to see, as these stories continue, how those two nations will parallel each other in their various attitudes. Because this now means that the nation, the capital of Israel in this moment, can't be Jerusalem. That's in Judah's territory, and they can't get to it. So that means Israel needs a different capital. So, we'll get to see how that plays out over the next following videos. So until the next video, friends. Hello, friends. So, Bible study, Niv, John, chapter 12. We're doing 20, and we're going to do it in verse 20 through 35, and then we're going to do a separate video for the next one, which is, this one is Jesus predicts his death. Now, there were some Greeks among those who went up to worship at the feast. This is Jerusalem. Jesus has come in. People laid down the palm leaves. He was on the back of a donkey. They came to Philip, who was from Bethesda in Galilee, with a request. Sir, they said, we would like to see Jesus. If I was there, so would I. Philip went to tell Andrew, and Andrew and Philip, in turn, told Jesus. Well, seems reasonable. Jesus replied, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. I tell you the truth. Unless the kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. Okay. That's true. Because, if you're either grinding it up and using it for flour, or you're getting the seeds to plant for more harvest later. Because that's where you get the seeds for more harvest later. You got to choose some of your seeds so you can plant. I like gardening as and heirloom gardening is one of my sort of hobbies. Where did I leave Okay. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. That's how science works. The man who loves his life will lose it, while the man who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant will also be. That's also how that works. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Because if it's kind of like, if you mess up and that buck stops here, it's your boss that gets in trouble, and then your boss yells at you, but your boss gets in trouble first for something that you did, right? Same arrangement. That's what he's doing. Sort of like when you're in the Old Testament and you got Moses pleading for the people, please God, please just don't kill all of them. What about this? Or the ones where like, what if there's just one good person in that town? Like what Lot did. What if there's just one? Right? So, okay, like that. Now my heart is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me this hour. No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. So, he's like, am I supposed to ask God not to kill me? I can't ask God not to kill me. I'm going to let everybody else in the rest of human existence suffer these sins so nobody ever gets to heaven because I don't feel like dying right now. I can't do that. Right? That's what he's saying. We're at verse 28 right now. Father, glorify your name. Now, before I read the rest of this, I'm going to remind you that he is the half Holy Spirit. And you have to try to imagine what's going on here. Okay, so half his DNA is magic. The rest of us, what we've got is we've got Enoch, who was, lifted to heaven bodily. That's what it says in Genesis. He bodily was lifted to heaven. Okay, so bodily lifted to heaven and now serves as the voice of God. Why does God need a separate voice? Because God, how many bolts of lightning can you handle before your brain is fried? Because God is more power than every bolt of lightning everywhere on this earth all put together. He is every piece of electricity everywhere in the known and unknown universe. Our brains can only handle so much. I don't know if it's the amperage or the voltage, because I'm not an electrical engineer, but if you are, you feel free to tell me which one it would be that would short out our brains. Okay, because it just be like, zzz. Okay? If he tried to talk to us. Our heads, we just like, just because we can't handle the power that he has, the frequency that he has. So think of Metatron as like a step-down transformer. He can. So he can, speak to us. So it's not a game of telephone. It's my master says this is the message, instead of it going through like multiple channels. So Jesus is outside talking to people, and he's sort of like, Father, I talk to my ceiling all the time too, so that I could talk to God. That's what I do. When I talk, I look up at the ceiling. You let me know if you do it different. How do you talk to God? Do you not look up when you talk to God? Hopefully you're talking to God, because you should be. He's a really good listener. He listens to absolutely every word with no exhaustion. Then a voice came from heaven. Now that doesn't happen for me. My ceiling's not talking to me. I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd that was there and heard it said it had thundered. Others said an angel spoke to him. So he spoke, and right in that moment, minimally, there was thunder. So it seems like there was some response from nature to the words that he was saying. But these people should be used to the idea of God sounding like thunder or other things of that nature, because the Ark of the Covenant would show up like a cloud. So when they were wandering through the desert, in order to help them not die, there was a cloud over them so they wouldn't die under the heat of the desert. And I live in the desert, so I can tell you, if you were going to wander around out there, your shade is your best friend. That and water, shade and water, are your best friends in the desert. You look for both of them wherever you are, and you make sure you bring as much of that as you can to wherever you have to go. Okay? It's just the way of life out here. All right, so we're on verse 30. Jesus said, "The voice was for your benefit, not mine. Now is the time for judgment on this world. The prince of this world," that's Satan, will be driven out. But I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself." He said this to show the kind of death he was going to die. The crowd spoke up. "We have heard from the law that the Christ will remain forever. So how can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man?" Then Jesus told them, "You are going to have the light just a little while longer. You're going to have me just a little bit longer. Walk while you have the light, before darkness overtakes you. The man who walks in the dark does not know where he is going. Put your trust in the light while you have it, so that you may become sons of light. Follow me, and I will show you." I'm sorry, somebody. Okay, it went away. Stupid, somebody trying to call. He's saying, "Follow me, and I'll show you." When he had finished speaking, Jesus left and hid himself from the others, because it must be exhausting, all this public speaking, all this kind of stuff, yet still all this hecklers, non-belief. You're trying to generate this energy, right? Trying to generate this positive energy, because we got to have this positive energy circling around everything if we want to actually do something with it. And every time you get somebody who's negative in that situation, it just sucks all the energy out of the room. It spreads misbelief, right? So when we go about the world today, even if we feel frustrated or something doesn't make any sense, I'm not saying don't question things. Always question things. But what I am saying is, let's try to look at our perspective. Are we trying to prove something or disprove something? When you're asking your questions, is your mind actually open? Are you open to any answer, or are you looking for a specific answer? Because if we're looking for a specific answer and we don't get it, then ego starts to get involved, and that's very dangerous. Don't walk that path. Let's try to stay open-minded today. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv. We are in Psalms, Book 5, Psalm 114. When Israel came out of Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of a foreign tongue, Judah became God's sanctuary, Israel his dominion. The sea looked and fled. The Jordan turned back. The mountains skipped like rams, the hills like lambs. Why was it, O sea, that you fled? O Jordan, that you turned back? You mountains, that you skipped like rams? You hills like lambs? Tremble, O earth, at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the God of Jacob, who turned the rock into a pool, the hard rock into springs of water. Carrying on more of the tradition, right? So until the next video, friends.